Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about tanks, a class of unit which I thought would have been completely pointless, that actually turned out to be pretty much the most important defensive unit on your roster, or at least quite up there with healers. Tanks are so important that you really can't do without them unless you're super duper overgeared. And in this video I want to give you guys a bit of an idea why that is, and also talk a little bit about the current tanks in the game and why pretty much all of them are super duper valuable. Alright, so first and foremost, I kind of want to give you guys a bit of perspective of where I'm coming from here. So right now, I'm in memory of Chaos 8, and I'm actually just about to beat this. I actually got like literally one hit away from killing it on the time limit, which is a bit unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. We'll try again tomorrow. But it's pretty up there, and I feel like tanks, they just don't get any worse. They're just really good. Even in the hardest of the hard content, the harder the content is, the more damage you're going to take, the better tanks are. So I can only really see them not being relevant when content becomes a complete face roll and all of the damage isn't really a problem anymore. But that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon, especially if you're on the free-to-play side of things or anything along those lines. So why are they so good? Why are they so valuable? And also, what's going on with them? So in the endgame of Star Rail, there is so much damage coming out, whether that be single target, cleave attacks, you name it, there is a lot of damage. So much so that if you do not have a way to redirect that and mitigate it, or at least heal it back, there's just basically no chance of success. Your entire team is going to get wiped in 1 to 2 cycles. Now, the damage is actually so substantial that even with a healer, you'd pretty much have a very slim chance of success unless you're seriously overgearing the content you're doing. Like if you're trying to go cutting edge, like most of my units are 60 to 70 now, like well actually only 2 of them are 70. If you're trying to go cutting edge and you're trying to beat the content, you know, there's just no way that one sole healer can do it alone, at least from what I've experienced so far. So you have to bring a tank with them. Now the 2 tanks that I use are actually Trailblazer Fire and Jeopard, and oh man, did they put in so much work in mitigating damage. The reason it's so powerful is that a lot of the really potent and scary attacks in this game are actually single target based or cleave based. Now a cleave based attack is going to hit one target and the adjacent targets around them, and a single target attack is of course single target. And when you set up your teams, you can actually set them up in a way which makes it very easy to mitigate both of those types of attacks, meaning the only true attacks you have to deal with are massive AoEs. And those definitely exist. Fortunately, they don't come in too frequently unless your name is an ice golem. So to give you guys a bit of an example of the teams I've been constructing, so this is kind of how I set up my teams. I always have a DPS, generally a unit which can be hyper carried, like Yangqing, Sally, they're both like pretty good options right now. I generally have a support who's going to boost the hyper carry. Some good options are generally like Tingyun, Bronya, Welt, you know, Pella, Asta. And then you gotta have a healer, generally, unless you've got like crazy tanks, which, you know, you can get there, it's doable, but you gotta have a healer, so like Bailu, for example, and then you have a tank. And you always put the tank, at least I do, I always put the tank on the far right or far left, with my DPS on the opposite side, and then I put my healer next to the tank. And the reason I do this is because when you get hit by a cleave attack, it will hit the tank and one adjacent unit. So there's no one on Jeopard's right here, so nothing there. And then on the left, we have Bailu. And when you get hit in this game, you gain energy. So when our tanks are getting hit, bang, you know, they're going to get energy, and then the healer's also going to get energy. And that's a massive deal for survivability, and it's going to drastically increase your chances of not dying. Also, in addition to that, healers are way tankier than pretty much every other unit in the game because they scale off of HP. So if you take a look at my Sally, she's got 2.3k life. My Bailu has 5.4k life. So it's a pretty big difference. Like the healer, it's very unlikely they're going to go down, and the tank of course is stacking defense, so it's very unlikely they're going to go down either. And both of them are kind of feeding off each other in terms of gaining energy, so it's a really potent combo. That wouldn't be any good though if every single unit had the same chance to be hit. So generally, like overall units, like when the enemy attacks, they just choose it randomly, like, ooh, okay, who am I attacking? Anyone. That's actually just not the way the game works. So each unit has a chance to be attacked. It's like an innate value that each unit has. So I can say like pretty much anecdotally here, and from the way that it actually works, is that hunt units have the lowest chance to be attacked and preservation units have the highest chance to be attacked. With destruction being kind of close to how much preservation gives, and then every other unit is kind of in the middle. But hunt have substantially less chance to be attacked. So if you combine a hunt unit with a tank on one side, well, chances are the attack is gonna go on the tank side of things, because the hunt has a much lower chance to be hit and the tank has a much higher chance to be hit. And in addition to that, tanks in this game actually have a chance to be increased further than that on top of being preservation. So the 4 tanks in the game are Trailblazer Fire, Japad, March 7th, as well as, where is she? I don't have it, Clara. Those are the 4 tanks in the game. And you're gonna see on a lot of these tanks the ability to increase their chance to be attacked. So Japad just straight up has a trace, which makes it so he has a high chance to be attacked. And then March 7th shield obviously increases the chance for her to be attacked. Trailblazer Fire just has a hard taunt, which is obviously going to be a permanent, like everyone's going to attack them. And then we've got Clara, who also has a high chance to be attacked due to her ultimate increasing the chance for her to be attacked. So all these units have something in common. They can redirect and also have a really high innate chance to be attacked, and they have a chance to boost that. And that is just so valuable. I haven't seen a high memory of chaos team yet, which actually doesn't have some form of tank or insane gear on it. And I think a lot of players who are just coming up, this is going to be a pretty big tip for you guys. Now, of course, you've got these mechanics which are on the characters, but if you want to get even more consistent and double down even harder, you can go ahead and use light cones as well. There are some very strong light cones in this game, and they only increase that chance even further. So you can see here, Moment of Victory gives you a ton of defense, which is obviously always welcome. But in addition to that, it also has a line here that says increase the chance of the wearer to be attacked by enemies. Now, the trace on Japad, as well as the taunt from Clara, as well as March, as well as these light cones, it's not a small amount. It's not like 30% increased attack. It's like 400% increased chance to be attacked. It's crazy. Like the chance for these tanks to go from like getting attacked to like not getting attacked and stuff like that, it's insane how much you get from the light cones as well as the traces. It's a lot, man. Like it's way stronger than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for. Now, that's pretty good, and you know, we're going to redirect the attack, but you know, it's no good if our tanks just die anyway. So we understand that healers are super duper chunky, but my Japad, he only has 3k life. So defense, is it relevant, and how relevant is it actually? Well, when an attack comes in, generally it's going to hit most of your other team members, like Tinyun, as well as like Sele, and all sorts of the squishier characters like Bronya. It's going to hit them for like half or 3/4 of their life in a lot of cases, like in the end game, before you get like insane gear. But when it hits a like Japad, or when it hits like a Trailblazer of Fire, it doesn't do anywhere near that amount because they stack so much defense. Like my Trailblazer of Fire here has 3.1k defense. When stuff hits them, they kind of just shrug it off. And mitigating damage when combined with healing and high max HP is very strong. And it's going to make it so that you basically take substantially less damage. And the only thing that which you really need to worry about is actually the AoE attacks. So having a tank is basically your key to success in terms of not dying. And I think that really like picking one up, or you know, trying to find a way to get one in. So everyone's given 2 for free. They're given March as well as Trailblazer of Fire. And if you have Clara or Japad, I would highly recommend leveling them up and trying to get them geared up. Now, in addition to that, not only do tanks redirect all the attacks, not only do they allow you to manipulate energy and protect your carries, but they also mitigate all that damage. In addition to that, they also have a lot of shields going for them. Pretty much all of the preservation units are tanks. The only one which is a tank which is not going to provide shields is of course Clara, but she also provides a massive amount of break as well as damage, so we'll let her off the hook for now. She also has a ton of damage reduction in her kit, which just makes her even better. But the 3 units we just talked about are the ones which are Trailblazer of Fire, March, and Japad. They also provide shields, which not only double down on like the mitigation side of things, but can also put them in a position where they can actually replace a healer. It is entirely possible in all of your team comps that you will only need to run Trailblazer of Fire if you have them really geared. And in the end game, people are already running only Japad in high memory of chaos floors like 8, 9, and 10. It is possible to do that if they have enough gear and if they are the exclusive target of getting hit. It is that crazy. So tanks are like kind of like on the same level as healers, but once you get even more gear, it's possible they may even surpass healers. So I think they're really valuable units, and I definitely don't think you should overlook them. And in addition to that, they also provide benefit to your entire team as well. So they can grant you obviously shields for themselves, but also shields for everybody. And in the case of Trailblazer of Fire, I really want to highlight one specific thing here, and that is one of their traces which provides 15% damage reduction for the squad. So you can see here, after using the skill, the damage taken of all allies reduced by 15%. 15%. Do not underestimate this ability. It is actually a game changer. There is many attacks in the endgame which actually could just straight up one-shot your team, especially if you're lacking a little bit of gear. And using this before the AoE attack comes in, specifically from Kokolia as well as Ice Golems and the big fat robot, is basically just going to be a game changer. In addition to that, it also enables strategies which you might not expect otherwise. So for example, like on the big fat robot, he summons the 2 big explosion hands. You can actually just pretty much tank those if you use Trailblazer Fire in the correct way. Now, the hands on those big fat guys, they actually are a cleave, believe it or not. So if you have enough taunt, and if you actually like provide your tank as your healer with enough damage reduction, you can actually just ignore that mechanic using a tank, which will lead to substantially higher DPS because it allows you to tunnel vision the actual boss, which is, you know, really important for Memory of Chaos, where time is of the essence. So you can do some pretty crazy stuff. In addition to that, specifically with Trailblazer Fire on the Landau lieutenants or the Silvermane lieutenants, you can do some pretty crazy stuff. Any enemy who like has like a counter attack where you like have to hit him to break him, you can use the taunt, which is like going to be on Trailblazer Fire, for example, to get massive damage reduction, and then you can ult straight after and you can attack into them, trigger their counter attack while you have the massive damage reduction. So there's so many different things that you can do with tanks, and so many ways you can like cheese mechanics and big one-shots that should be so threatening to your team, would otherwise wipe your team at their current gear level, but you can completely bypass them with the use of tanks. So I'd highly recommend looking into seeing how maybe you can fit in 1 or 2 tanks in your 2-man roster. You know, they go really well with healers as well, but they have the potential to even surpass healers. And I think a lot of people need to give the tanks a little bit more credit. And it's no coincidence that I pretty much put all the tanks at A or S tier. And I think that Japad honestly belongs even in a higher tier on his own, because he is one of the tanks which, you know, he is so strong that he can literally replace a healer in the end game. Many of the Chinese players are using Japad on one side and Bailu on the other side, and that's it. Obviously, Bailu being insanely strong as well. You know, she'd probably get her own video, but she is ridiculous as well. But yeah, damn, don't sleep on tanks. Hopefully you guys have learned something new in this video. And if you did, make sure to subscribe for more Star Rail content. And until next time, cheers.